Look around you. You are not in chains. No guards stand at your door. No master cracks a whip. And yet, most people wake up tired, anxious, indebted, and afraid of falling behind. They work jobs they don't love, to buy things they don't need, to impress people they don't know, using money they don't really have. This isn't freedom. It only looks like it. Because the most powerful form of control in history doesn't rely on force. It relies on desire. Welcome to the age of consumerism, where slavery didn't disappear. It evolved. And today, millions willingly participate in a system that extracts their time, attention, labor, and future, while convincing them they're free. To understand how we got here, we have to go back not to shopping malls or social media, but to the moment freedom itself was redefined. For most of human history, slavery was visible. Empires didn't hide it. They depended on it. Ancient Rome ran on enslaved labor. Plantations in the Americas were built on chains and violence. Industrial factories in the 19th century didn't own workers, but they controlled their lives just as tightly. The system was simple. You worked because you were forced to. If you refused, you starved. If you rebelled, you were punished. There was no illusion of choice. But visible oppression creates resistance, and resistance creates instability. So power adapted. The goal was no longer to force people to work, but to make them want to. The turning point came in the early 20th century. Industrialization had made production efficient. Factories could now produce more goods than people actually needed. This created a dangerous problem for capitalism. What happens when people stop buying? Enter Edward Bernays, the father of modern advertising and public relations. Bernays didn't sell products, sold identity. He understood a terrifying truth. People don't buy things because they need them.
Ow.
They buy things because of how those things make them. Status, belonging, superiority, security. Cigarettes weren't tobacco, they were freedom. Cars weren't transportation, they were power. Luxury wasn't excess, it was success. From that moment on, consumption became psychological. And once desire replaced need, the system no longer required force, it required marketing. Consumerism alone wasn't enough. To truly extract long-term labor, the system needed one more tool: debt. Before the 20th century, debt was dangerous and shameful. You borrowed only in desperation. That had to change. Banks, governments, and corporations reframed debt as opportunity. Mortgages were sold as adulthood, credit cards as convenience, student loans as self-improvement. Debt wasn't a burden anymore. It was a lifestyle. And debt does something powerful. It turns future labor into collateral. When you owe money, you don't work because you want to. You work because you must. Miss a payment, and the consequences follow you everywhere. Your credit score, your housing, your health, your dignity. The chains were no longer iron, they were contracts. By the late 20th century, consumerism was no longer economic. It was cultural. Your worth became measurable. What you wore, what you drove, what you owned, what you posted. Advertising stopped targeting adults. It targeted children. Brand loyalty was formed before critical thinking developed. The message was constant and relentless. You are not enough, but you could be, if you buy the right things. And this is where the trap deepened. Because once identity is tied to consumption, stopping feels like death. If you don't buy, you don't belong. If you fall behind, you feel ashamed. If you opt out, you're invisible. Freedom became indistinguishable from spending. Something strange happened in the early 21st century. People started working more, but owning less. Wages stagnated. Housing costs exploded. Healthcare became unaffordable. Education turned into lifelong debt. Yet consumption didn't slow down. Why? Because the system adapted again. By now, pay later, zero interest financing, subscription everything. Digital goods with no resale value. Ownership disappeared. Payments remained. You no longer owned music, you rented access. You didn't own movies, you streamed permission. You didn't own software, you licensed dependence. The consumer became a permanent renter. And renters don't accumulate power. Today, consumerism is algorithmic. Your desires are predicted before you feel them. Your insecurities are monetized in real time. Your attention is the product. Social media doesn't sell you things directly. It sells comparison. You see lifestyles you can't afford, bodies you don't have, success stories with missing context. The result: anxiety, overwork, overspending, and the cycle continues. Now the cruelest part: people blame themselves. I should work harder. I should budget better. I should hustle more. Rarely do they question the system that requires exhaustion to survive. Governments promise regulation. Corporations promise responsibility. Influencers promise hacks. But nothing touches the core problem. Because consumerism isn't a bug in the system. It is the system. Economic growth depends on constant spending. Markets depend on constant borrowing. Stock prices depend on constant consumption. A population that consumes less is dangerous to power, so the pressure never stops. Even sustainability is marketed as consumption. Buy the eco-friendly version, upgrade responsibly, consume consciously. Still consume. Slavery isn't defined by chains. It's defined by lack of exit. When most people cannot stop working without losing housing, healthcare, dignity, or survival, that's not freedom. When your entire future is pledged to debts taken before you understood them, that is not choice. When your self-worth is tied to spending, that's not identity. Consumerism didn't free humanity from labor, it disguised it. Here are the 3 takeaways for you. First, consumerism works because it hijacks human psychology, not because people are weak. The system is engineered to turn desire into obligation and choice into dependency. Second, debt is the modern chain. Not because borrowing is evil, but because permanent debt removes the ability to say no. Third, freedom isn't about buying more. It's about needing less and owning your time, attention, and future. History shows that systems built on endless extraction eventually collapse, either by rebellion, by economic crisis, or by cultural exhaustion. The question isn't whether consumerism will break. It's who will be prepared when it does. If this video challenged how you see money, freedom, and power, leave a comment with your thoughts. And if you want to understand the systems shaping your life before they fail you, subscribe to the Fiscal Archivist. Because history doesn't repeat itself, but it does trap those who don't study it. And the most expensive things in life are the illusions we never question.